Check, check, mic check. Okay, they're starting. And we have video. But how do I get that? Let's go here. Check, check.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Now let me see if I can adjust it here because it doesn't want to. 1 second. Hey everybody. Nobody's here yet, probably, but hopefully we will be starting very soon. We're just trying to get some technical difficulties dialed in. I can hear it. Okay, good. I can hear it. I don't know how to stretch that screen more. Let me see here. Let's see. I can at least move it there. And let's see. Does this work? You know what? I'm just going to do it this way. Okay. Sometimes you have to just jury rig stuff. I think that's better. Okay. Here we go. Thanks for being patient, peeps out there. I see we've got some people watching here. Cool. Thank you. We've got G20 in the mix. Got my Blue Yeti here, my Blue Yeti Pro. That's what I like to use here. Okay, we've got PFV on the line. It's late, but hey, we had to start it. We had to get it going. So let me turn this. I'm gonna mute my audio there so that we don't have the feedback. We have a little bit of delay. I just want to make sure we're doing good here. G20 in the house. Thank you guys. Wow. Okay, we got the super chat enabled. If anyone wants to do that, you know, no pressure on anyone. Not at all. Not at all. We're here to just have some fun and talk about some things. Big week, huge week. Now that I know how to do this, I'm going to start running this like I used to run my shows on radio and TV. Big week for the president, Paul, and our audience out there. I want you to just step it up here and let's recap what we saw this week with the president. Let's talk about the stuff that's going on with Mueller. Let's talk about what's going on. We can go even by, you know, a little bit ago with the healthcare bill. Let's do a little comments with McCain, job numbers, the speech in West Virginia. So much to talk about. We have Trump and we have the quote unquote swamp. Where do you feel like we stand right now? Because I feel like, you know, we're talking off the air here. There's so many things we can discuss. Who do you think has the upper hand right now? I think this comes down to a couple different things, but go ahead and you give me your take on it right now, and I'll weigh in a bit.
I think that Trump is at his low point right now.
Interesting.
So you would think then that the swamp has the advantage. However, I think that Trump is going to be on the rise pretty shortly here. And so this might be about as good as it gets for Trump, or for the swamp, excuse me.
Okay. All right. Interesting. You know what? So there's a saying that it's always darkest before the dawn. And it's so interesting. So many people have counted out Trump before. Let's not forget that. So many people have counted out Trump before in terms of, you know, how many, 17 people that he beat in the primaries. And I think that it's an interesting inflection point. It's such a critical time right now in terms of, is the swamp going to win? Is he going to be boxed in? Is Trump boxed in? I mean, what about the grand jury thing? We heard about that this week. We've got the Washington Post. We've got the New York Times. Everybody's out there. There's these leaks and stuff like that. We've had the Senate that, I mean, it seems like the Senate, Republicans, so many of those folks are against Trump. We haven't had a lot of legislative movement. But at the same time, I'm feeling something. I'm feeling cross currents. I'm feeling something happening right here, Paul. We've got Speaker Ryan going down to the border, doing this video and everything like that. So we've got that going on. Now we have the recess. I saw something on Drudge where someone was suing the Republicans for quote unquote fraud, if I read it right. In other words, we've had Sean Hannity out there. We've got Jay Sekulow. We've got Greg Jarrett, Diamond and Silk. We've got Rush Limbaugh. A lot of people are not happy. They're not happy with the Republicans. It feels like you've got the media, you've got the Never Trumpers, you've got the establishment Republicans and the Democrats and some Obama holdovers and stuff like that, all against Trump. And the question is, are they going to win, Paul? I have some thoughts I'll lay out here in a second.
What I think is that the establishment, the people against Trump, in my opinion, obviously there is real danger for Trump because of special counsel. My feeling at this moment is that the swamp is overplaying its hand, or it is beginning to overplay its hand.
Interesting.
We know that we heard about the grand jury being impaneled, supposedly, and certain commentators have said, basically, this appears to be a search for a crime. There's no particular crime evident. And so now they're starting to look for something, starting to dig for something. For months we heard about Russia over and over again, and there appeared to be, look, how serious is this? Vladimir Putin, was there collusion, and so on and so forth. Nothing has come of those congressional investigations. There doesn't seem to be any evidence of anything. And so then you have to ask yourself, well then, what is Robert Mueller looking at? What else are we going to find? What more is there? And I've seen people that are not really supporters of Donald Trump say, this is kind of, I'm not sure where this is going, and this might be going kind of a little bit out of bounds of where it should be. And so I think slowly we're starting to see the seeds of a turning point for Donald Trump. If this becomes something that's not so clear, it's not really, the case isn't evident to the American people, then Trump becomes a sympathetic figure. And I do believe that people trying to take down Donald Trump may be starting to overplay their hand here.
Okay, first of all, I want to ask the audience out there, G20 or anyone else that's listening, can you hear Paul well enough, or do I need to position his mic differently, because I want to make sure I've got these things synced up? If you can hear Paul, or someone give me some comments over here in the chat, let us know that you can hear him okay. I agree with what he said. When you have people like Charles Krauthammer and Jonathan Turley and some others, if I remember correctly, first of all personal opinion only, not alleging facts, not casting any aspersions, all for entertainment purposes only. Please check disclaimers. When you have folks like that saying, hey, this may be too much. If they try to remove Trump, it may be too much. Let's start with a couple things right here, all right? Number one, I think what you have here, in my opinion, potentially, and Limbaugh talked about this, but way long ago in my ultimate Russia analysis, Ask a Super Genius, whatever, and that was months ago. If you haven't seen that, definitely after this broadcast, go see that, because I've laid out a lot of this at that time with PowerPoint and everything, Paul, and I know that we have people that, some high-level people that watch my stuff and know that we know what's going on, and I won't name any names, stuff like that, but let's just say that we are known, okay? Let's get it to that. And now it's interesting to see some of those arguments out there. Okay, good. Thank you, G20. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. This G20 saying that Paul could be a little bit louder compared to me. Well, of course, right? You're speaking to the camera, but you can hear him. Okay, perfect. Thank you, G20, for that. Appreciate you. Here's what I'm thinking. You have potential voter nullification, okay? And we'll deal with that. That is huge. And President Trump talked about that in West Virginia. We'll get to that. And number two, I think you have the swamp overplaying their hand. Now, that is very important, and you have signals of that too, in my opinion. Let's break down number one. Number one with this voter nullification thing. I think that they're, and I'm just talking politically now. I'm putting on my political hat. I'm not talking anything about, right, wrong, this, that. I'm just talking straight politics right now. So let's be very clear about that. I want to be very, very clean and clear about that. From a pure political standpoint, I think there was an opportunity there if you could show the American people that, hey, somehow you had, Donald Trump with Boris and Natasha rigging votes or something like that, that there could have been, and again, I'm not making any normative judgments or anything like that. I'm just talking straight politics. Then I think there could have been an appetite for, some action against even removing or impeaching President Donald Trump, depending on the severity of what they were able to prove. I mean, if you went so far as to say, hey, there was a secret meeting and money changed hands and Putin hired the hackers, and okay, if you went to that nth degree of hypothetical situation out there, then maybe yes, okay, all that. But if you go, bottom line is, we don't know, and we'll see what comes out. But in my opinion, I am right now assuming today, what we know today, there is nothing there. I mean, think about this. There's been so many leaks, Paul, and I want you to jump in on this, but I want to make this clean point. There's been so many leaks of like almost everything. I mean, they just leaked these transcripts of his calls to foreign leaders. I mean, it's unheard of. When you get to that, that's overplaying the hand. Don't you think even the hardest core never Trumpers and the Democrats, don't you think if there was something there, we would have known it by now? I mean, do you really think that whoever's leaking this stuff, or the multiple people leaking this stuff, do you really think that if they really had something that they just would have, they're saving this, they're saving it for later? I mean, particularly when you've had the outcry with some of the stuff that Trump's been doing on some of his policies. No, in my opinion, in my guess, absolutely not. If they had it, it would be out there. So now, the collusion thing didn't work. So then we're moving on to obstruction, but oh, geez, how do you obstruct when there isn't an underlying crime, and oh, geez, how do you obstruct when he's the chief law enforcement officer and he can hire and fire who he wants? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, right? So now we're getting into this other stuff, which is financial transactions and associates and the kids and stuff, and it's mission creep. And I don't think that the American people are going to stand for that. So let me make this a clean point, and I'll get the second point. I'll get Paul in here. And we definitely want to hear any questions or comments that you guys have over here, too, in the chat. Definitely give us that kind of information. We want to hear from you guys. The clean point is this. There are some that are thinking that they're going to circle up and Donald Trump, keep his numbers down and stuff like that. And now we're seeing the Congress moving against him. Maybe the swamp's all going to rally against him. And you had this thing on MSNBC, Trump versus the world and everything like that. But I think that when you have this situation where the potential voter nullification, in other words, it would be one thing if they had this smoking gun evidence of Trump trying to cheat in the election with Putin or whoever. That'd be one thing. But it's not there. So now if they're going to go on this witch hunt and go after Trump, I don't think the people are going to stand for it because, Paul, I think that it's becoming too obvious what the play is. You had some people like, on the Democrat side that were calling for his impeachment before he was even in office. And I think when you see these things with Jim Acosta and Glenn Thrush and these press briefings, it's just a little too much. That's getting the second point, overplaying their hand. And what Trump said out there in West Virginia, and the people are like, listen, they're against you, meaning the people. Nobody is going to stand, in my opinion, from a political standpoint, nobody's going to stand for them and Charles Krailhammer. said this, for them trying to remove Trump because they don't like him, because they don't like his policies. Guess what? There was an election and the American people voted for it. You don't like the electoral college? That's the system. In other words, people will have a very visceral reaction to that. From a political standpoint, in my opinion, Paul, you had that huge rally, and I think that it's coming to a loggerheads here. I think that the masks are being dropped, and people are seeing what's going on here. You know, if you don't like Trump's policies, vote him out. If you don't like his policies, you're in the Senate, then, you know, don't vote for his policies or vote against him or try to override a veto or do whatever it wants. That's the system. But to try to come up with an investigation searching for a crime to try to get him out of there or damage him, I don't think the American people are going to stand for it, Paul. I think that the swamp has overplayed their hands. And how do we know this? Because, okay, when you have Morning Joe, okay, that's saying, hey, Jim Acosta got a little, you know, in my opinion, I didn't even watch the show, but I read a report of it. When you have Morning Joe is saying, hey, you know, maybe that wasn't, and again, this is my opinion, my paraphrase of it, when they didn't seem to be super supportive of Jim Acosta and what he did, because people saw it. You can't, here's the thing, you want to ask a question, great, that's fine. You want speaking truth to power, that's fine. But you cannot straight up hijack, as a reporter, a presidential press conference, okay? You can't do that. You and come off well to the American people. It's not your press conference, Jim Acosta. It's not your show, and so that looks bad. And when you see that, when you see what Jim Acosta did, you see what Glenn Thrush did, in my opinion, all of a sudden the American people, like, you don't have to have a major in political science to understand what's going on there. Let me put it that way. You don't have to be an expert to think that maybe that's not the right way to go. Maybe that has a bad impression on you, in my opinion. Again, all personal opinion, only knowledge, in fact, not casting personal for entertainment purposes only. Please check disclaimers. It doesn't seem fair. The American people are smart. It doesn't seem fair. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem how it's supposed to go. You know, you can't say, hey, you know, Trump's not acting presidential, and then, you know, you try to hijack the press conference, you know. And I'm not saying Jim Acosta said or didn't say that. I'm just saying, you know, some of Trump's critics. Second point, I'm going to turn over to Paul, and we want to hear your comments over here in the chat. Second point on that is, look, when you can't on the one hand say, oh my gosh, Trump may have some kind of obstruction for a crime that's not even proven there, and we don't really even know, and Comey and this and that, and the second, third base, and the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, and all this crazy, you know, entanglements, mental entanglements type of situation, and at the same time sign on to the release of the full transcripts of the President of the United States talking to other foreign leaders and somehow think that that's just okay, or that's a whistleblower. What? I mean, and everyone was against that. And then Morning Joe, oh, hey, maybe Trump did it himself and set him up. Like, no, dude. And the thing of it is here's the thing. Nobody is, you know, if somehow, so what are you really saying there? That Trump punked them? That they're not smart enough to not run that? I mean, nobody forced them to run that. You know, do I believe that Trump intentionally released it? Absolutely not. And I don't think, how many people believe that? Okay, please raise your hands, number one. And number two, nobody forced them to run that. That's a bad look. It's a bad look, and it's overplaying their hands, Paul, and I think the American people are getting onto it. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think that the leaking of the entire transcripts of the calls with the foreign leaders was really the biggest mistake that those against Trump made in the last week. And I also agree with you about how Jim Acosta and Glenn Thrush acted at the White House press briefing. That was another mistake. But the transcripts being printed in the Washington Post, I believe it was an enormous error. I think that Senator Mark Warner, Democrat, who I believe is the lead Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, said, look, you can't do that. So you're even getting a bipartisan pushback on this. And as we said, Charles Krauthammer remarked that this is kind of, that things are getting a little out of control. David Frum, who I believe has always been against Trump, he's a Republican, was like, look, leaking these transcripts is just basically giving off the signal that you're going to go against Trump no matter what.
Right.
You're not even going to treat him as the president. Now, that might have seemed appropriate early on into this Russia investigation, but we're now 6-7 months beyond that. Nothing has been shown of any ill intent. Trump just signed the Russia sanctions bill. There's no reason there's no way to back up acting like this against the sitting president. And so what it is coming down to, which you pointed out, is this appears to be the ruling class trying to nullify the will of the American voter. And that is that you're getting into dangerous territory, and the American people are likely to turn on you. And that's what I said is I think we've seen the bottoming out of Trump. We got through the White House shakeup, Anthony Scaramucci, the Donald Trump Jr. meeting with the Russians, and the failure of the health care bill repeal. Okay, now we're out of all that. Here we are, and we just got the full transcripts of those phone calls leaked. And we got the information on the grand jury, Robert Mueller, and it looks like we're going off the rails here. And I do think that is going to end up playing into President Trump's hands, and it's going to go right to his campaign message. And the reason why people voted him with, which is, these people are not against me, they're against you.
Right.
And they don't care what you think, and they don't care how you voted. They are determined to overturn your decision no matter what. And that is not going to work out well for them in the long run.
Well, I agree with that, absolutely. And I just want to ask you guys out there, is my sort of monitor here within the YouTube stuff is kind of buffering and stuff. It's been for a while. Let me know here in the chat and make sure that you guys are still seeing it here. My encoding software, everything looks good. So I just want to make sure that you guys are still seeing it. Everything's good. I don't know if you're seeing, if your stuff's still rolling over there, Paul. I just want to make sure, because I'm getting a little like sort of a frozen screen and kind of buffering. Yeah. So I just want to make sure we're good. We're good on your end? Okay, so it must just be local for me. Okay, that's fine.
I had the buffering before, so I know you're
okay, perfect. Okay, no problem. Then we'll just keep it rolling. I agree with so much of what you said right there, Paul. And this is a very, very key point. Let me just really encapsulate it right here for y'all. You can't convince a bunch of people, right, that it's okay to, go after this jaywalker, allegedly, right? Because we've proven nothing yet, all right? If you're willing to burn down the whole town to get him. Okay? Yeah. That's just not going to work, okay? That's not going to work. I mean, you can't say that you can't say that, hey, all of these potential crimes, right? And there's such a list of them with the leaking, the releasing of the stuff with the foreign leaders. I mean, it's on and on and on and on and on. This litany of stuff that's okay. That's whistleblowing, so that we can find out that Donald Trump had the Miss Universe pageant in Moscow 10 years ago or something. I mean, what? It's just not gonna work, dude. You cannot just, like you say, try to. I mean, the appearance is, in my opinion, that some people are willing to do whatever it takes, basically, in my opinion, politically, to get Trump out of office. And that is a slap in the face to those that voted for Donald Trump, which was millions, right? And a huge amount of states. I mean, 306 electoral votes. That wasn't like a razor thin victory. It wasn't like a super massive landslide, but it was no razor thin victory. He won in places that people didn't expect him to win. Now, and at the same time, like, the stock market's at an all-time high, unemployment is down, jobs are doing great, the debt is down, trade deficit is down. I mean, there's things that are happening here and stuff. And so when you have Representative Congresswoman Maxine Waters that was on The View. And I think, if I remember correctly, she says after we impeach Trump, we're going to go after Pence. What does that then say about the validity and or the motives of the other side, Paul?
It just makes them look terrible. I mean, look, that's what a lot of this is about, in my opinion. This is about 2018. They're trying desperately to win back the House of Representatives so that they have the majority with which they could then try to impeach Donald Trump. As you said, Maxine Waters putting the cart before the horse. You're kind of giving away the whole game here. And as you're saying, this is it's just becoming too obvious what's going on here. Again, we had the pretext of Russia for a long time. That doesn't exist anymore in any serious way. So now it's just kind of freestyling here that we're going to try to do this takedown of Trump no matter what. And I just don't think that's going to be an effective argument for the American people.
Yeah, and it's in the whole Russian thing. I mean, let's look at the results too. I mean, we just signed a sanction. President Trump just signed a sanctions bill against Russia. Russia kicked out like 700 plus someone diplomats there. So I mean, it's like, dude, this is so crazy because if you thought that somehow Russia did something because they like Trump better, how's that worked out? I mean, it's crazy. There's no logic here. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And it's insane. Now, and again, I apologize to the audience. I wish I would have had a little bit more stuff, pulled together here. But there's so much we had to talk about. It would have taken like so many different videos. We're gonna get these better and better as we're going. It's our first live stream, so hang in there with us. Appreciate that. But we just wanted to come direct to you two people, and we want to hear from you guys in the chat too about what you think about this. But let's spin it forward. All right. Now, I think that let me phrase it this way. I wouldn't be surprised, Paul, if some people, because you have to remember, and others have said this, and it's just, I think it's so true. Trump is such an existential, total threat to the swamp and how DC operates. Think of this. The lobbyists, the consultants, the professional politicians. It used to be that way back in the day, you'd work at a normal job, you'd be a congressperson or something like that. You go, you do your work, you literally would go back to your normal job. This is way back in the day, right? Now we have people that, they get elected, and then they're looking for the next office. Some of these people were there for 20, 30 plus years. It never was like that, right? So, if you're that professional politician and you see this guy that not only did he not work his way up or her way up or their way up or whatever, but he went straight to the top. Now, granted, it was Donald Trump and it was a billionaire and everything like that, but this guy went, in this particular case, this person went straight to the top. So now, how worried are you? That shakes up your entire world. We have Kid Rock going in there out of nowhere, and he's polling better than Senator Stabenow. Okay, think about that. So of course there was going to be reaction. You were a lobbyist, and how do you approach that? Shakes up your situation right there. You're a consultant. You're a political consultant. You run the one of the political parties, and you've worked your way up, and you're used to doing things in the way that they have been done. And I think we've seen in this last election cycle the way some people may have been doing some things allegedly, potentially, again, according to certain news reports. So now you have Trump that just took a wrecking ball to that. So you could see potentially where some people would have a very visceral reaction to that and would not want to see this person succeed. And I think we're seeing that on both sides, right? And so some would say maybe that Trump, as a novice, political novice, maybe, Paul, there were some that were trying to, A, that they were absolutely going to be against them from Jump Street, and B, maybe that they could set him up, potentially, allegedly.
Yeah, I think, look, just what you were talking about there before, there seems to be there's no room for normal politicians anymore. And there are a lot of people in D.C. who definitely don't want to see that happen. Not only the politicians, but the consultants and some of the donors as well. They want to be able to control these people.
Right. Potentially, allegedly, in our opinion. Let me put it another way. If if you believe there's a swamp in D.C., if you believe that there is this kind of situation, maybe a deep state, whatever the swamp, I think the swamp is a better thing because it kind of encompasses all of it. If you believe there's a swamp, then you would have to believe that someone like Trump is a threat to that swamp. And what's worse than having Trump elected is to have Trump being reelected and successful. You see what I'm saying? Then that is a absolute massive threat to that entire system. Okay, it's almost like the Matrix or something like that, right? And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are hoping he was one and done, and that's where you had all this talk. How else do you explain this talk of? I mean, we have some on the left that just will not accept defeat and everything like that. I mean, Hillary Clinton with the "What Happened" book. I mean, oh my God, forget it. I mean, but I still think that Trump represents this massive threat, right? In our opinion. But do you think that Trump is going to beat them, Paul, or do you think that they are going to beat Trump?
It's an interesting question. I mean, we're going to have to see what plays out, what comes out of the Mueller investigation. But honestly, I think they're going to have a very difficult time getting Trump taken down via Mueller. So in that sense, I think there's a very good chance that Trump is going to prevail over that. Even if he's impeached, I can't see him being removed unless something really damaging comes of it. But I think that my guess is that the Republicans will hold the House in 2018, and so therefore I think it's going to be very challenging to impeach Donald Trump unless something really explosive comes out of the investigation that nobody sees coming right now.
So let's play it like this. Let's ask some specific questions. There's so much that we don't know, but do you think that Mueller will remain as special counsel? If you watch Hannity and stuff like that, and there's a lot of people talking about the conflicts of interest and Comey and all these types of things and everything like that, and that maybe that Mueller shouldn't be, a special counsel. Do you think that Mueller will remain as special counsel?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that? Oh, I mean, this is such a hard question, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Do you think that? What do you think, if anything, that Mueller will come up with? And this is pure speculation.
Just evaluating the different information that has come out in the last 48 hours or so, my personal feeling is that they're going to try to go after Trump on the charge of obstruction of justice, and that they will use other avenues to try to get witnesses to cooperate with them. And when I mean other avenues, I'm talking about the financial transactions and the potential perjury trap possibility of asking people like Jared Kushner and Donald Trump Jr. about the meeting with the Russian lawyer. So my guess is those things will be used to try to turn or flip witnesses against Donald Trump, and that the general thrust will be on the obstruction of justice case. And like I said, as of today, there is no case. Not, according to various highly respected lawyers. So they're going to have to try to build that up.
But here's the question on that one, right? How do you have obstruction of? What is the crime that Trump was obstructing? In other words, if you cannot prove any Russian collusion between Trump campaign and the Russian government to cheat in this election for Donald Trump, what did Trump obstruct? Am I assuming that you're saying that they're going to try to get Trump on obstructing by firing Comey? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, of firing Comey in the Michael Flynn investigation. I think that's what we're looking at.
Okay, so how do you, if there's no there, and that let's assume that Trump campaign didn't do anything wrong with the Russian government to try to cheat in the campaign, and I don't know as much about the Michael Flynn situation. I'll confess that. Then how do you have obstruction?
It's a really good question.
Because
I mean, I can understand if like, okay, so Comey is investigating Flynn, and Trump wants to fire Comey to end the investigation, which I don't think even happened. I don't think the investigation ended when Comey was fired, which is another problem for the obstruction case. But the first round of obstruction discussion was, hey, supposedly Donald Trump told James Comey to kind of back off of the Flynn investigation. Supposedly, this was the whole thing.
Right.
About Comey's memos and so forth. Is that legit? I don't know. Like I said, respected lawyers have said they don't think there's any case there. We know that Donald Trump has the constitutional right to fire James Comey for any reason he wants. So the case looks quite flimsy. But there was an article posted on Fox with some sources that seemed like they were from the FBI, I believe, saying that, hey, the obstruction case might be stronger than everybody thinks it is, and supposedly there are various FBI personnel who can testify against Donald Trump on that matter. And my response is, you still don't have a case unless Donald Trump spoke with these individual FBI members specifically and told them, look, I want to fire James Comey because of the Michael Flynn investigation. And my guess is that doesn't exist. So there's not a lot here. I mean, as Charles Krauthammer said, we seem to be searching for a crime. There isn't a crime currently that anybody can see. So they're already on shaky ground. But my guess is and this is only a guess, my guess is if they go after Donald Trump, which you would imagine that they would, and not just try to get minor peripheral scalps here, it will be on this obstruction matter. We'll see.
Okay, and so, but I will say that you had, in my opinion, liberal super lawyer, Alan Dershowitz from Harvard, who was basically saying, in my opinion, that I think I remember right. I may be remembering it wrong, so don't hold me to this. But I think he was saying that basically, like, you cannot have obstruction when Trump is exercising his constitutional authority. Okay, he is head of the executive branch. If he doesn't like the job that Comey is doing, I think it's such a stretch, particularly when you had people on both sides of the aisle criticizing Comey. And that is the problem with so much of this, Paul. For how long did we have people criticizing Sessions? Oh, he's the worst. He's the worst. He's the worst. Until Donald Trump started criticizing him, and all of a sudden, oh, Sessions is great. Everybody loves Jeff Sessions in the Senate and everything like that. And we saw the same thing, I believe, with Senator McCain. Senator McCain, oh, I can't believe he came back for this vote. Then he votes no on health care. Oh, the Maverick, he's so great and stuff like that. People are seeing it.
Same thing with James Comey.
Same thing with Comey.
That's what I said. It's so obvious. It's becoming a little too blatant.
A little too blatant. And that's what I'm saying. So, okay. So you think that they're going to try to go after him. The Mueller's going to stay. They're going to try to go after him for obstruction. What do you think is the result of that? What do you think Trump's going to do? You think he's going to do more of these, rallies and stuff and try to get the people behind him? Or you think they're going to keep cracking down on the leakers? What do you expect Sessions to do? I mean, honestly, if it were me, I think that the biggest mistake that Trump made, in my opinion, is from day one, before this whole circus could have gotten ginned up. And I do agree that, you know, it nothing. I mean, it would have been good. There's so many, you know, it would have been good to have an attorney general that didn't have to recuse themselves. Okay, I mean that definitely, or didn't recuse themselves. And it made when did Democrats recuse themselves from anything? Okay, let's talk about that. And that's the thing. Like look, everyone has to make their own decisions about what they think is right and wrong and stuff like that. And I'm all for doing the right thing, absolutely, no question about it. But at the same time, like, you know, let me phrase it this way: if there are Republicans that are trying to sabotage Donald Trump and are not passing bills or not supporting things that they have said on the campaign trail, that they've said for 3, 5, 7 plus years that they support, whether that's repeal and replace, whether that's tax reform, whether that's whatever, then you know what? You got to look in the mirror and you need to be straight with the voters. And because that's just absolutely wrong. You know what I mean? I mean, politics is politics, and you know, people are going to do all kinds of stuff for all kinds of reasons, but that's just absolutely wrong right there. But in any event, my opinion is what Trump should have done from day one was drain the swamp, flush the swamp out, dude. He should have just gotten rid of everybody. I think that the biggest mistake is that Trump figured, like, hey, in business, if I want if I'm building this building, I want the top architect, and I want the top salesperson, and I want the top whatever. And so I think that he kind of went with what he thought were the top political people and stuff like that. And unfortunately, and maybe kept some people in place or whatever because he's a political novice. I mean, you can't just get rid of everybody, I don't think, because obviously you have to have a government that functions and stuff to some degree. But honestly, he just should have started just totally fresh and gotten rid of as many as he could have. I mean, from day one, it's a new administration. We're starting clean. Then we couldn't have gotten into all this obstruction and this and that and whatever, and it would have reduced all these leaks and stuff like that. I think that they just should have cleaned house, Paul, everywhere. You know what I mean? Particularly in certain places that some people might call the deep state or whatever like that. You just have to just try to clean that as much as you can. Obviously, you have to have a functioning government, because we're seeing the heart of the resistance. Do you agree with that? Or do you think that there's a larger strategy here with Trump in that he wanted to show the swamp for what it was?
I pretty much agree. I think more cleaning out would have been better. They did clean out some people. I think a number of Department of Justice people were let go. I know a number of State Department people have been let go and so forth. They're working to replace more holdovers from previous administrations, but it does take time. Some of that's like the confirmation process and such. But can you ask me, though, where I think everything's going to go, what's going to be the result? My guess is, if I had to place a wager, that Trump is not going to be impeached, and that is because the Republicans are likely to retain the House of Representatives in 2018. And so if you have a relatively weak case coming from the special counsel, that Republicans will not support it in terms of impeachment. And so the Democrats have, I don't remember the exact number, I think they are down by about maybe 27 seats in the House. That's not going to be easy to make up, particularly when you see statistics showing that Republicans are apparently more energized to get out the vote in 2018. And you now have the Democrats essentially trying to pilfer Trump's message and use it as their own.
Oh, I know. A better deal, please. Please. Well, I guess my point is, do you play the short game or do you play the long game? And what I mean by that is okay, hold on. We got Fazzy saying that I think the longer this goes without something major against Trump happens, the more the average American will think this is silly and side with Trump in a leave us alone moment. Okay, thank you for that comment, Fazzy. Now that's the question. Do we play the short game or do we play the long game? The long game says exactly what Fozzy's saying, and I want to hear what you have to say, Paul, in terms of keep letting them show, let the swamp show what they are. Let the swamp show what they are. I mean, in my opinion, rather than a heroic moment, a maverick moment, voting against the skinny repeal from McCain, Murkowski, and Collins did not enhance them, it diminished them, at least on the Republican side. Particularly McCain. I just don't see how you can surmount that, and I think that that's something that's going to stay with him. I think that McCain's going to find out. You can have all the friends on the Sunday show and stuff like that. Now, maybe he doesn't care. You know, he just won re-election, everything like that, and we definitely hope that everything goes well with his health. I mean, he's definitely facing some very serious health things, and so, you know, on a personal note, you know, thoughts and prayers go out there and everything like that. So, you know, we'll put that aside for sure. But from a political standpoint, when I think there was some poster, some campaign poster, something someone showed, you know, leading the fight to repeal, whatever. How do you? And then, well, I didn't think of it. How can you go forward with it? But anyway, the point is, do you play the short game or the long game? The long game says you let these people show how they are and expose themselves, right? And then maybe it's like what Fozzy says, that the longer it goes, people are like, look, this is silly. You know, look at what Jim Acosta is doing. This is kind of what we were saying before. Look at what Glenn Thrush did. You know, look at what the Republicans aren't doing anything. How can, you know, Ryan, you know, where are the bills out of Congress? We have a Republican majority. Where's the tax reform? Where's, you know, all these other things? Or some people think that the longer this goes, hey, you have an unlimited budget with the special counsel. You know, maybe they'll get someone in a perjury trap. Maybe they'll get someone in some kind of something. Maybe they'll dig up some stuff. Maybe the deep state will keep leaking stuff and keep making Trump look bad and get him by 1,000 cuts. Maybe that's what they're thinking. Maybe we, you know, just drive his poll numbers down or whatever. So do you play the long game like Fozzy's saying, Paul, or do you play the short game and be like, you know, Trump coming back, say, you know what? I'm getting rid of Mueller. We're firing all these people. We're going to change everything out and just dare Congress to impeach him, knowing that we have Republicans there. Would Republicans really do that? And then we're getting closer to their election cycle. You know what I mean? And you're going to impeach him for what? For what? I mean, is it, in other words, if you're going to have a conflict, if you're going to have a fight with the swamp, is it better to do it right now, or is it better to wait, Paul?
I agree with the commenter. I think the long game is the way to go here. A couple of days ago, I was actually thinking the short game might be better, but I do think now the long game is the way to play here, particularly when Mueller has essentially come out and said he doesn't have anything. And, you know, well, the infection case is stronger than you think.
Why is Mueller hiding? Okay, hold on. Okay, G20, from what I've seen, this is pretty much the thought process in Canada. Elaborate on that, G20. What do you mean by that? What is that? What does that mean, that this is the thought process in Canada? Mean the short game or the long game? Tell us what you think, what you mean on that. Well, I want to talk about that. So you're saying go with the long game, Paul, that they don't have anything. And do you think politically it helps Trump to let them show that they don't have anything? Are you worried that they're going to try to do some silly stuff with Trump, with the you know, a Scooter Libby type of situation or whatnot? Go ahead.
Well, the thing is this: Scooter Libby, for the people that don't know, Scooter Libby was, I think, convicted of perjury, and it was basically, many people thought it was very much a kind of fabricated charge or something along those lines. And could that happen here, right? Could that happen to one of Trump's relatives, for example? My feeling is, yes, that could happen. But remember, Trump still has the power of the pardon. And I think you ride it out. Like I said, at first I was really concerned about this, but now it's starting again. I do think Mueller's case is weak, at least from where we're at currently. And as Cloudhammer said, the Watergate grand jury, or the proceedings of the investigation, started with the crime, which was the break-in. There's no crime here. Now, of course, you can start with no crime and end up at a crime, which is, I believe, what happened with Bill Clinton and Kenneth Starr. But I think that investigation took like 6 years or something. If this extends 6 years and Trump's still in office, he's in good shape. So I don't, right now, I think you can afford to play the long game. I do feel that, and I think Trump has a good chance of coming out on top in that.
Tell us what you think in the chat. I want to know what you think. Do we play the short game? Do we play the long game here? So, okay. So there's a couple different things. You could either go total political war, if you will. Get rid of Mueller, fire everybody, all this type of stuff, whatnot. Or you could go play the long game, like what Fozzie was talking about. Or you could do some kind of hybrid. Maybe the hybrid was, hey, we have Priebus is out, Spicer's out, Scaramucci is out. We got Kelly in there. We're going out. We have Sessions, going after some leak or stuff like that. And what I'm going to do is politically turn up the heat if you're Trump, meaning why, you know what? I'm going to talk about what I think about Mueller. I'm going to have rallies in West Virginia. I'm going to, be tweeting about the healthcare reform, whatever, and show and just take it to the people and show what it is. You know what I'm saying? And people are still going to ask, hey, Republicans have all these majorities. Where's a contract with America? Where's the bills? Where's the bill? I mean, okay, let's say, here's the thing. If you're a Republican in Congress, McCain is okay. Speaker Ryan, let's say that privately you think, and I'm not accusing anybody, I'm just saying hypothetically, this is in John hypothetical land. If you think that Trump is the worst thing ever and blah, 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 and whatever, doesn't matter. You need to do your job. Where are your bills? Why don't you put the bills on his desk? If you got this great idea on healthcare, on taxes, on immigration, on whatever it is, put it on his desk. Come up with it. You know what I mean? It's not. I mean, you criticize Trump, but then again, like, oh, he didn't do anything for the healthcare thing, and he didn't have a plan. That's your job. That's like him saying, hey, you didn't tell General Kelly what to do today, or you didn't draw up the plan for Afghanistan, whatever like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's great if he, it was a policy wonk and maybe he wants to get involved in this, that, whatever. And I'm not saying he is or isn't, but you cannot blame Trump for you not doing your job. That's the bottom line. That's what I'm talking about. You cannot blame Trump for you not doing your job. And don't you think that voters are going to get upset at that point? I think people are too smart now. And I think that Trump's going to turn on the heat politically and with the American people. And I think that Trump's slowly getting in control of this. So do you feel like going forward, Trump's got the upper hand or the swamp's got the upper hand?
I think Trump has the upper hand, as you said. And I think that there will be coming into more focus. Like, I think there's some investigations or discussion of that, and people like Susan Rice and Samantha Power and
hold on 1 second. That's the other question I want to ask you. I want to ask you guys out there too. Do you think, Trump is trying to do more than most? Yeah, I agree. Trump's trying to get things done, absolutely, and he's getting a lot of resistance. Do you think, Paul, that there should be a second special counsel to look at all those, those kind of things with the Hillary Clinton tweet 30,000 emails. There's some new stuff that I think Judicial Watch and ACLJ or whatever, the Seculos group had some stuff out there. And what about this IT staffer with Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz? And there's a lot of different things here. The emails from Huma Abedin and stuff like that. Do you think we need a second special counsel? And I think there's some commenters on the right that were saying until the Democrats feel some potential pain on their end, that they're going to keep going for the special counsel. Or do you think that we need to get away from all special counsel stuff?
I think that a second special counsel might be useful, but on the other hand, it might not be needed. The bottom line is this: with Trump essentially out of the direct spotlight in terms of the congressional investigations, which haven't formally wrapped up, but they're essentially wrapped up. Yes, Mueller will keep going, and we'll get leaks about that, but the truth is now other figures like these Democrats are going to start coming under scrutiny themselves, and that's going to help Donald Trump politically. Before, it was all about him and Russia, and now it's going to start being about other people. That's going to help him. That's going to give him assistance. That's going to get his poll numbers up. And I think ultimately that will help him deal with and overcome whatever Mueller and his team come up with.
Okay, so Die says, do you not feel that the deep state, which has done regime change in so many countries, is now doing it in the USA? Okay, so a lot of people talk about the deep state, Paul. And again, you know, it's just speculation, this is opinion and hypothetical and stuff like that. But there are some people, I believe, that have talked about a quote-unquote silent coup. And I think that, you know, you have people like Tucker Carlson, in my opinion. You have others, in my opinion, that, you know, Sean Hannity, in my opinion, that are concerned about what is exactly going on here. When you have magnitudes more leaks coming out on this administration, when you're seeing entire transcripts from calls with foreign leaders, and it's pretty crazy, okay? And it's what I said before, you know, a long time ago. I don't think the American people are going to go for, you know, someone trying to get a jaywalker and burning the whole town down. You know what I mean? You can't. I don't think that it's going to be acceptable to be able to say, hey, you know, don't worry about whatever happened with Hillary Clinton. Don't worry about the emails. Don't worry about the IT staffer. Don't worry about you know, the meeting on the tarmac between Bill Clinton and former Attorney General Loretta Lynch. Don't worry about whatever happened with Bernie Sanders and the DNC and all that type of stuff. And don't worry about all these leaks, of which some we know have been stated potentially as crimes, okay, and have some. I mean, again, who out there feels like it's acceptable to release publicly the entire transcripts of private calls between the President of the United States and other foreign leaders? Who out there thinks that's okay? But somehow forget about all that. We're going to go after Trump with a special counsel, and he better not fire him, even if there's potentially conflicts of interest, because you know he's close to James Comey, who may or may not be a witness. I mean, it's insane for a crime that has not even been found yet. That's crazy. And I think that people are getting too smart for it. The media, the news, everything wants to invite regime changes. You know, that's a little, wait a minute. That's a little, we gotta let's keep the comments. Let's keep the comments very legit here. Let's keep the comments very legit here. We gotta have everything legit. Let's just keep everything legit here. Listen, we have to keep the comments very, very legit on the chat and everything like that. And I understand people are passionate about this. I get it. We're passionate about this. But we have to stick to things that we, you know, either you have to state that it's your opinion, as we do. We state that it's our opinion. And again, we're not alleging fact, not casting aspersions, all for entertainment purpose only. Please check the disclaimers. And, you know, we have to stick to what we think we know as facts in our opinion and stuff like that. This is passionate. Well, people are fired up. People are upset. You know, people feel like out there, whether it's West Virginia, whether it's Ohio, Texas, California, whatever like that, in my opinion, people feel like they're not giving Trump a fair shake, and maybe they're not listening to the American people. And do you feel like people are concerned? People are scared from Nepal. Wow. Okay. And so I hear you. Listen, well, that's a whole other thing here. We got someone from Nepal who's weighing in here, and yeah, he's just saying, listen, I mean, people are concerned that depending on what's going on with the potential alleged deep state and with the swamp and with the never Trumpers, that this could be a threat to democracy and even Crownhammer. I mean, this was up on Real Clear Politics. You know, the quote that, you know, he's saying that if you try to, you know, remove Trump, that's big problems. What do you think about that, Paul?
I think he's right. I think it's a huge problem if you try to remove him based upon where we're at, which is there is no discernible crime at this time. And so because of that, if you do try to remove him, you are seriously imperiling democracy. Because again, you're trying to overturn, it looks like, the will of the people. That's a major threat. So yeah, it's definitely a problem. Dine is definitely, I know him, he is from the poll. G20 is gamers. Good to see those guys on board. It's always great to have everybody. As you said, we'll be doing more of these. We're just getting started with this, but it's fun that we're, you know, able to get into it.
Yeah, we like to have everyone from all around the world, everything like that. You know, no, I'm gonna take these off. Don't, you know, no offense, anything like that. I just want to keep this, you know, real, you know, low key, I guess, if you will. I get we love the international participation. Folks from Canada, folks from Nepal, everything. I love it. I understand that. I just don't want anything to be potentially. We just want to keep it low key, and I don't want anything to be potentially misconstrued and everything like that. And I you know, we appreciate everything that people are saying, everything like that. That's a bit far, though. G20, expand on that in the next comment. Hey, look, we're gonna wrap this up here pretty soon. Here's what I'm thinking. I think people are catching on to this, and I think that Trump does have the upper hand. I think it's going to get very interesting, but I think that, you know, there's a lot more information out there in the net. There's a lot more information out there. People, you know, out there on YouTube. It's fantastic. I mean, we can talk to them. We're having people from Canada. We're having people from Nepal weighing in, and that's awesome. You know, and we like that. And I think that most people, and I believe, in my opinion, want to see a fair process. Trump was elected. You know, he deserves his shot. They want to see the will of the people enacted. Trump's got a certain amount of time. If you don't like what he's doing, vote him out next time if he runs again. You know, which I'm sure he will, in my opinion. And I think that people just have to be straight up. If you're a Republican and you said you were for repeal or replace, and that's what you should be doing, so like, it doesn't mean you can't change your mind, whatever. But I mean, it's you know, people are smart. Okay, and right. Dying at a dime, just saying what news. Yeah, I hear. Let's keep it. I apologize, Dying at a dime. I really do. I know. I think I understand what you're trying to. Look. I think, and I'm gonna paraphrase. You tell me in the comments if you feel I'm right. I think what one of our commenters is concerned about is I think they want to see Trump get a fair shake, and that the media is maybe biased. And I mean, I will say this, Paul, and I'm going to get to your comment in a second here, G20. I think there's a concern that the media has gone too far, in my opinion. That when you're seeing people that are supposed to be straight news people, or their anchors, or the White House correspondents, and I mean, what we saw the other day in the White House press briefing room, I thought that was way over the top. And I think that people are concerned about that you know, the media is a very powerful thing, and people get their information from that. And do you feel like they should be a little more? It's one thing to have opinion journalism and having, you know, talk shows, stuff like that, but you know, you can't have, in my opinion, potentially what some people might be concerned of, a stacked deck. Paul, do you agree with that or not?
Yeah, I agree. I think that there were people, as you pointed out, Joe Scarborough and Morning Joe, which is certainly more Democratic or left wing. They thought that Jim Acosta went too far. So that's what I believe we're getting into overall, both media Mueller and so forth, we're getting too far off the reservation here, to use the expression. We're getting a little too aggressive against Trump and his administration. There's not enough respect being shown for the office of the presidency, and I do think it will end up helping Donald Trump in the end, because I think the American people see it also, and they're not going to like it.
I think people are seeing it, so it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens. G20. I understand what you were saying there, and that's why I've moderated as I have. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up right here. We're gonna wrap it up right now. We appreciate you guys joining our first live stream. It went over an hour. It was fun. It was exciting, and we're gonna do this more often. We're gonna try to get some more preparation, stuff like that. We're just learning, the live stream thing on YouTube. It's fun. Hopefully this was good. Technical little technical learning curve aside at the beginning. Let's go with one last prediction, Paul. What do you think Trump's going to do when he comes back from vacation? Is he just going to hit the political thing hard? Is he just going to shift to policy? What do you think he's going to do?
Well, we have to see. I think that's 17 days away. We have to see kind of what the orders.
Trump's going to do something between now and then, too. That's for sure.
Yeah, are polls moving up, or where's the discussion at in terms of the media? But I think he's going to go. Policy. I think he might, start doing even, maybe there's a couple more rallies, and kind of he's gonna. My guess is he's going to continue to hit the swamp hard and call people out, including Republicans who are not moving forward. But let's see. My guess is they did the immigration reform bill introduction. My guess is soon we will be seeing more on tax reform.
So are you overall, are you happy with where Trump is right now with this administration? Do you feel like he's accomplished some things, and do you feel confident that he's going to be able to be successful going forward? Or how concerned are you with this other stuff?
I'm actually pretty happy. And yesterday I felt really bad after the grand jury information, but then I kind of let it sit on it and say I've sat and thought about it for a while, realized that there really is nothing there right now. And I truly believe that Trump has put most of the negativity behind him. He's shaken up the White House staff kind of more to his liking, and I think he's ready to go on offense and kind of go get his message out there. I think there's good things coming ahead for him.
Absolutely. G20 with the final comment here. This is really interesting, man. Definitely do more of these. It's fun for me to soak in as much information as possible. Like how you guys are showing both sides. Absolutely, G20. It's funny because, I'm so glad we do this live thing now, because I actually, with my background, having done, live TV and live radio, for a long time now. I love doing the live thing, and frankly, a lot of the best conversations that Paul and I have are obviously off the air and stuff, where we're just riffing because, we're deep into this thing. And so we're absolutely going to do more of these things. We love you fans. We love the people out there, and hopefully we can grow these things bigger and bigger. Yeah, I think in my final comments before we sign off right here, because it's late. I'm sure it's late for everybody. It's even later for Paul. I'm not sure if I think Trump should play the short game or long game. I'm not decided on that now. Definitely had to do all over again. Like I said before, I think he should have just, gotten rid of so many more people and not brought in Priebus and Spicer and all that type of stuff, and that's my opinion. You know what I mean? I think if you dance with who brought you. If you were an outsider, you bring that outside game. You know that the swamp's against you. You know the insiders are against you and everything like that. But what's done is done. What does he do right now that we are here right now? I'm on the side on that, and I'm not trying to hedge. I can see both sides on that. I'm not quite sure. And a lot of that comes down to trying to know what you don't know. Dad's about to have lunch over there in Nepal. Understand? Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so it's perfect time for him. That's great, man. And so, but I think that you can look at it from this perspective, and I've said this before. I think the genie's out of the bottle in this way. Some people who are against Trump or against what he represents, if you're, a member of the swamp or something like that, are thinking maybe, hey, it's Trump is one and done. And that they're focused on Trump. We just get him out of there, and whatever, and it'll all be okay again. I don't agree with that. I don't believe that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the genie's out of the bottle, and that people A, have seen what the swamp's about. B, have seen how biased some of the media are in mainstream media, and C, have seen that they can actually have a voice, can actually win elections, stuff like that. And I think that that everybody wants a fair shot. I mean, you can have disagreement. Here's the thing. You can have disagreements. You can be on the left, you can be on the right, this and that, whatever like that. But, I don't think many Americans are going to sign on to a rigged system. I don't think that, okay, cool. Okay, yeah, perfect. That's right now. That's good. I think that people want to know that they have a fair system, whether it's in the primaries or the general election, stuff like that. That's just critical. That's the foundation of our constitutional republic and stuff. And so I think that that even if you disagree with Trump, that people want to see Trump get a fair shot. And so I think that he's exposed a lot of insiders in Washington. So I think that Trump is doing a great service in exposing people. I mean, you have to, it's in my opinion, it's not good to fool the voters, to play the people, stuff like that. If you change your mind, whatever like that, it's fine. But I mean, again, it's just so embarrassing to have 7 years, repeal, replace, and we're going to do it. All these votes, all these bills, stuff like that. And now you have a Republican House, a Republican Senate, Republican President. He's trying to push it, and it's crickets. And they failed on the repeal and replace. They failed on the just repeal, the skinny repeal, and all that type of stuff. And that's just, I think that's embarrassing. So I don't know 100% what the perfect strategy is. I think I'll say this: at a minimum, Trump needs to do much more messaging on his own out there. Rally. I mean, rally the heck out of it. I think he needs to call out the media. I think he needs to call out the politicians. I think he needs to call out Washington. I think we're going to have an election coming up here. And I think Trump can more, and some people need to be primary. Then they need to be primary. That's what's up. Okay, they're playing hardball with Trump, and Trump's got to, flex, and Trump supporters have to flex their muscles and stuff like that politically. And at the same time, I think he's got to, have his people go out there and get things done. I mean, it's time to move. It's time to get things done. If there's leakers, let's stop them. If we need to get bills passed, like tax reform, let's get it going on. I mean, Trump is the president. He can't do everything. It's going to be what it's going to be. But it was never going to be easy to drain the swamp, and maybe this is just part of the process. So I think that Trump has to know what he's facing now, and it's time to get things going. But I think there needs to be some adjustments. I think on a 1 to 10, I would give him probably 9 or 10 for trying, maybe about a 7.5 for results. I think he's doing a lot of good things, but I think he's doing a lot more than what people know about because, you got the media in there and people, and you're not getting the full story. I think there's been some big successes, but I think that again, why give him a 9 or 10 for trying? Because he can't pass bills without Congress passing bills. So it's not really his fault, right? It's not his fault for certain things. I mean, of course, I'm not saying everything's been perfect, and there's been some messaging issues and some staffing, things I would have done different and all that stuff, and that's fine. Nobody's perfect. You know what I mean? That's okay. But I think that he's got to try to focus and put the heat on Congress to start passing things and get things done. And if they don't, then find out ways that you can be effective on the other things. But just call them out and just keep it going, man. That's what's going to happen. So very, very interesting. We appreciate you guys. We'll have more of this. Maybe we'll do something tomorrow, or if we don't do something tomorrow, we'll do something Sunday. We'll figure it out. We'll try to get the messaging out there. We appreciate you guys joining us. For Paul, I am John. You're watching Conservative Media. We talked about it. We hashed it out. Appreciate your comments. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks so much.